Hello, and welcome to another week of In the Studio with Daniel, presented by Advanced Angel Cards. Today's guest, which we're very excited about, is IntuitiveMitchell, Mitchell Osborn. He is a medium, a fitness guru, an animal communicator, amongst a myriad of other things. He is here today to discuss about everything from his readings, his radio shows, the services he provides, as well as we're going to touch base on a little bit different take of tarot cards for those of you out there who are unfamiliar with them. And get into that a little bit. So with no further ado, Mitchell, I welcome you.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much. So I'm very, very, very excited to be here. I love the intro. It's always funny sitting here listening to somebody else introduce you. You know, you hand bios, you give things to people, and all of a sudden you listen to it and you go, yeah, I guess that is who I am. So I will humbly say that's an accurate description of who I am. Even the fitness guru part, I'll accept that because I've been doing that for almost 30 years now.
Yeah. Since this is amateur hour, I actually did not ask you for an official bio, but this is just how I saw you, so I figured it was appropriate.
Oh, absolutely appropriate.
I will begin by saying I am Word through the one I see before me, and this is how I saw you. Word, I am Word.
I love it. I love it. You are a Paul Selig fan like I am.
Yes, very much so. We'll get into a little bit that later on. Get that a little later on as well. Well, to start out, I guess, since you are a myriad of many wonderful things, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live in Central Florida, and I haven't lived too far out of about a 50-mile radius, but grew up in a small town in Polk County, Florida, and it is what it sounds like. It is kind of a little bit of a redneck town, if you will, or redneck county. We lovingly say that, so I think I'm allowed to say that. But I grew up there, didn't have a lot of outlets to do the work I do, and I even remember you mentioned fitness, so I'll talk about that because I started my fitness and acting career about the same time, which is about 27 years ago, actually 28 years ago now. And it was interesting because even the fitness back almost 30 years ago, personal training was not something everybody did. It was for the elite and things like that, and now it's become much more mainstream. And then as I grew and I eventually moved into Orlando, Florida, where I live now, and there were actually workshops for me to go take, classes on, psychometry, mediumship, tarot cards, stones, runes, you name it, all the divination tools. I think I've taken a class on everything except Ouija. And I have nothing against Ouija boards, but I've never been drawn to them. And they have a huge stigma, and of course the stigma just perpetuates it. So, like I said, I've taught classes on all those things. I've not taught on runes. I don't know what it is about runes. I like them, but they're not my main thing. Tarot cards are my main thing, and I've even taught classes on tea leaf reading and coffee ground readings, which is a lot of fun, but one of the most laborious and litigious, is that the right word, litigious? It's a lot of work. It's just a lot of work because it's the ritual of it all to, and sip and drink. I mean, if you've ever had, coffee with the grounds actually in it or tea with the actual leaves in it, it's kind of a pain in the butt to sip around it because you need them at the end when you read them. Yeah, probably I've been studying all things metaphysical, studying hard for probably about 15 years, because right around the turn of this last decade, or the turn of the century actually, in 2000, really started studying. And I told you I would tell you online my boot camp, and where I started really starting to work professionally was actually at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. They actually had tarot card readers at both Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios, and we were talking about all the stuff going on in and around your house right now. And I said, I can focus. I've learned. My boot camp was at Universal because I would be in a little room and Blues Brothers playing. So the Blues Brothers would be, the band, they would be playing their loud music, and I'm here reading somebody, and I usually had a butt of a client buying something from the little kiosk next to me, so I'd be squished in between all this stuff, just giving the best readings I can, and that was a funny time because it was powerful, and I remember people would go, oh, you're real. This is not just entertainment. I'm kind of like, no, I know I'm in a theme park, but it's real. because they'd be like, oh, that you know exactly what I'm doing. So and I don't know what I can talk, man. If you want me to keep rambling and talking, I certainly will. But whatever direction you want me to go with our interview, you tell me.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That was an interesting story because I think that happens a lot for people. They get a spot somewhere. I mean, that was a unique experience. I've never heard of anybody getting their start at such a large scale facility as that. But we have local areas here. We have stores in our local mall that
Wow.
east, west, where they sell like that, and we'll go there to do a reading on a Saturday or something, just as a promotional thing to let somebody come in and do a reading. And you have the soccer mom walking through the mall, maybe saw Teresa Caputo on TV or something, never gave it much thought, decides, oh, I'll spend $10 and see what this is about, and before you know it, they're like, oh my God, do you have a studio? Yeah, it's amazing the outlet that you have there, and then people start to realize, this isn't a hoax, this isn't still exist or beyond us now that we are in this evolving energy, and people are being awoken to their own abilities and being open to others' abilities, I should say. So, well, I'd like to go all the way back to the beginning, if I could. Like, were you born open, or is that something that developed? Like, when was your first, what you recognized to be your first psychic experience?
Well, I tell you, and this is something this is my story that I repeat when people ask me. I can remember being, because I know the house I was in, so I know what minimum age I was. So I was minimum age of 7 years old. So I was probably around 7, 8, or 9 years old. I can remember being Sunday morning, and everybody else in the house is asleep, and I'm the hyper kid who wakes up early at 6 a.m. And my mom would like, just go away. So I would go into the family room, the living room, and I remember sitting with a pencil, a deck of my mom's playing cards, because she played a lot of bridge and things like that. And I remember with my mind trying to move the pencil. I remember sitting there just trying to move the pencil. And then I remember taking just regular playing cards. I would shuffle them, and I would pull one card off, and I'd put it on my head, and I would try to first just guess the color, whether it was red or black, diamonds, spades, hearts, or clubs.
Right.
And then I would pull another card, and I would try to guess, because that's 1 out of 2. Then I would try to guess the suit, 1 out of 4. And then I would go into the number, and then I would try to guess a specific card. And I can also remember, I don't think I was good at guessing or intuiting it. But at that age, I'm already trying to use my psychic abilities and clairvoyant and remote viewing, whatever. So something, I don't know what possesses a 6, 7, 8-year-old kid to start doing that. So something was there. I always felt, and I remember even, walking out to a lot that we had, that we owned, and there was a stone in the ground. I remember standing on the stone, and I would literally look around. And of course, we're talking maybe even 12 years old. I would look around, and I would just close my eyes, and I would imagine I would drop down into the center of the earth, and there would be creatures and things down there. So my imagination, intuition, whatever, clairvoyance, and kind of a waking dream state was pretty powerful back then. And then growing up, my mother, I knew she was extremely intuitive, but all we would talk about was dreams. That was okay. Anything beyond that was, just a gut feeling or kind of a knowing. We never talked psychic, intuition, any of that stuff. But we could talk about dreams. And my mom, I remember dreamt of the owner of Cypress Gardens, which was one of the original theme parks in Florida. She dreamt of the owner's wife running down Main Street in black, turning into a building and dropping a shoe. And of course, my mom would go to the dream book. Back in those days, that's what you did. And she would see that dropping a shoe denotes death. Within a week, that woman's husband died. So my mother even had, prophetic dreams. So there was always a feeling of it's okay to kind of talk about it, but not too much of that. And my family does not know that I am a professional psychic and medium. We've never had that conversation. So they're very, very, very into the Nazarene Church now, which is where I went in myself. And I went to Nazarene University, things like that. So this type of stuff is probably still a little bit of a taboo for them. But I'm a 48-year-old male, and I'm comfortable where I am with my family at this point.
It's interesting. I was going to actually I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was going to get into that, but since you brought it up, I was going to ask you because I myself, I've dabbled in the supernatural since 1988 when I kind of stumped a psych professor with his philosophy of God. He liked my interest so much he invited me to come to a group afterwards, and it was long before ghost hunting was cool. They did paranormal research, which encompassed all things: psychic energy, telekinesis, all sorts of stuff. They ran experiments, and they would go and visit these like Santeria and Bucaria priests, and I mean it was involved stuff. And so my family knew I was interested. But now, as an adult at 44, where when I've been doing work like active work, angel work, light work, energy healing for 5 years or so, 6 years now, actively every day, and now at 44, I've begun channeling the angels. I found it difficult to quote unquote come out to my family about this, and many of my family and close friends still don't know that I do this. I guess it's partially from fear of judgment or more of ridicule. I'm one of 5 boys in the family.
Oh wow!
It's about the ridicule. I'm a baby at that. It's about the ridicule and just the harassment, even though half of it would be in fun.
Yeah.
So that was going to be one of my questions for you. How's your family? Are they aware fully of what you do, and how do they feel about it?
Well, unless they've stumbled upon it while researching or Googling me, then I would say no, they're not familiar with it. But and to share even more personal, which I don't mind because I do share that, and it's pretty common knowledge. But one day I was sitting down with a good friend of mine, Sherry Cortland, who's written several books that she channels like you do. Actually, she does automatic writing. But she looked at me, she says, oh, wow, you've had to come out of 2 closets, because I am a gay man. That was one closet I had to come out of. And then as a psychic and a medium is the second closet that I have, And I also work for a very conservative organization that's owned and run by, kind of a church. It's religious, a denominational-based hospital system. I'll say it that way. So, there's part of me that, I keep it very separate. Only because I don't want to ever have to be pulled into HR and ask, what are you doing? What's going on? Even though it probably would be a pretty big step for them if they ever did anything, because this is my, if you will, religion. I'm using a lot of quotes tonight. This is kind of my religion, my spirituality, because I'm called 3 or 4 times a year to unity churches, spiritualist churches, to do this work. And those are organized religions. So it would be very interesting, even though it's one of the religions that's way out on the edge, if you will, from some of the conservative ones. But, it's one of those where, like I know there's some of the fear is and I don't like using the word fear, because it's almost like it's just wisdom. It's like, I know it's going to hurt my head if I walk over to that wall and bait it against it. So why do I do that? Why would I do that? I've learned from somebody else. But to maybe lead into one of your other things, actually, the what's next for me I may lead into it right now, if you don't mind.
Yes, that's fine.
Because I've actually signed a talent agreement with a production company in New York and they are in the process of, and I'll use the word pimping me out to TV shows and networks for, a psychic reality TV show. They have several ideas, 2 very specific ones from me, one that they pretty much wrote around me, and they're actually supposed to have a meeting today, but it got pushed to tomorrow, which is funny because I pulled 3 cards, and I didn't text her and tell her where the cards were because the Tower was the middle card.
Wow.
But I remember thinking, because it was the Lovers, which keeps popping up with this with this kind of adventure of mine, because the Lovers shows me contract, shows me that connection. But the Tower was in the middle, and then 7 of Cups. And after she told me it got pushed tomorrow, I said, well, that explains my reading, because what was supposed to happen today got changed or rearranged, but it would actually even be better tomorrow. So that's kind of the what's next for me. And it's for 20 years I was an actor in Central Florida, and I went audition after audition after audition, and it's been about, I'm trying to do the math, probably about 9 years since I've done any of that. I love it. I don't miss it at this point. I was even an improviser. I own a small theater where we did improv comedy, and I know that improv comedy has prepared me for just even this interview with you, for when I do my YouTube readings, for any interview, any speaking, any TV work, all of that has prepared me. So I keep looking at going, man, Spirit they knew what they were doing, making me do all these other things to bring me to this point. And it's one of those things where it's not ego, because my ego is pretty small, and I if anything, I have to work my self-esteem up sometimes, but it feels so right that this is going to be the next step, to take all that I do to a larger global level.
Right. And it's no accident, like you were saying. These are the things they had you go through on your journey to prepare you. It's the acting, the creativity. I discuss with some of my people and clients and things, and we talk about Paul Celeb, we talk about different people. And people who know about those people will say things like, "Oh, do you think it's funny they're all actors or like head of the theatrical department? How do you know this isn't all an act?" And I'm not certainly going to sit here and try to defend these people I look up to, other than to say, well, it's because they are creative. It's because they operate in that hemisphere of their brain that they can be connected, that they have the openness. They're not blocked by these barriers. And so I don't think it's an accident that you are where you are now, because of, first of all, your health and your openness already that you had at such a young age, that you then almost set an intention that you were going to develop this. You were working on this at a young age, and that alone set that in motion. I mean, there's everything. I believe firmly in divine order and divine timing. So when I was thinking about reaching out to you for this interview, one of the things I go over is, well, is there something that they want to talk about? Certainly, very few people are going to want to do an interview if there's nothing new or nothing coming up. And they kept telling me, just reach out to him. He may have something to share. And so thank you for sharing. That's pretty incredible, actually. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah. And I tell you, it's you know, I don't know if it's going to be a month or 2 or 6, but I know by this time next year, it will have happened. I can feel that. The cards show me that. My co-host on my radio show, Jamie, she's in same kind of talks. We went together on something, then we split and went apart, and it's just been an amazing little bit of a journey. And the funny thing is, I'll share this too. The woman in New York, she is actually an astrologer who I've signed the agreement with. Her partner in California is actually a psychic medium. And then their other friend who helped and assist with the contract and agreement and working all that out, she's a palmist. So these 3 women speak my language. And when I do readings, I keep getting the 3 of Cups. And if you know the 3 of Cups from like Rider-Waite, that's usually 3 women holding cups up and they're dancing, and I keep getting that with these 3 women, which is about party, which is about celebration, a lot of fun, and it's very emotional and very joyous. So, and to go back to what you said about then developing and acting and all this stuff, the reason I went into acting is because as a child, first of all, I always imitated commercials, and I tried to raise the vibration of the room. I always went to humor, to lift the spirits, to change, that testosterone. You grew up with 4 brothers. I grew up with a brother on either side of me, so I come from a family of nothing but guys too. There's only like 1 girl and actually 1 cousin, and then my older brother had a girl, so it's like all this testosterone, and it's like I needed to always alleviate that situation, and for me it was laughter, so it was natural to go into acting, and a lot of it is comedy and fun. But I totally forgot where I was going with this scenario. Where I was going with this.
We were talking about leading you up to this point by you as a kid deciding to try to work on this, using your imagination, how you got into acting.
That's right. I don't know if you can hear my dog. So there's my.
That's right. My daughter's out there squealing and carrying on.
That would be Sheldon. He's a 14-year-old dachshund, and he's protecting me. But what I was going to say is, as a child, I always kept seeing myself standing on a stage with a lone microphone and knowing there were like 10,000 people out there in the dark looking back at me. I could see some of them. So the vision I always had was standing on the stage in front of thousands of people. And I thought, at one point, I thought I was going to be a singer because I took vocal lessons, and it wasn't that good. I remember my dad going, well, at least you can act. But now I see that all of that prepared me for this moment, to be in front of the TV, to be able to speak without stumbling, and have good flow of thought. And it is all, like I said, prepare me for these moments. So,
Right.
like you said, divine order, divine timing. I'll never forget a moment. Oprah was talking to Josh Groban, and he said something like, "Oh, I guess I'm just lucky." And Oprah said, no, it's not luck. It's about preparedness and opportunity, and they collided. And I thought, that's so important. I know that I'm finally prepared for this, and now the opportunity has collided with that preparedness. So very excited.
For what it's worth, I just drew a card from whatever. I have like a million decks laying around here. I just had literally an open deck here. I cut the card, and we drew Entrepreneur.
Oh, nice.
And it is from the During Virtue Daily Guidance from Your Angels card. And basically, the purpose of this card is that you are standing in your own power to move forward with something where it's your baby. You're going to be a part of this, and it's you're working with the things that bring you joy and bring you happiness, and that you're good at, and making that into a business, which I'm sure on some level you already have.
Yeah.
But the minute I saw this, it's we have the Archangel lighting the torch of the future, so to speak, on the card.
Nice.
So I just thought that was interesting when I pulled up and saw entrepreneur, and immediately got the sensation of success. So that's interesting.
I appreciate that validation, because that's what it is. It's, for me, it's confirmation and validation that the way I'm headed. And that's the other thing. I remember saying to one of the ladies, I said, I'm already seeing that this is going to happen, and it may be a 1, 2, 3 season show, if not more, because it feels like it's going to have longevity. But I can also see it stemming off into other things where, because I know, and this is something that is really, really important, and so many people have struggled with it, and you may have, your wife, you may have, but I have a corporate day job, and I really enjoy it. I really, really enjoy it. And I manage, I'm a group fitness manager, so I manage about 50 people who teach about 120 different classes per week. And I actually teach myself. And I kept thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to be an intuitive and a psychic, and this is going to become my full-time job. And after about 2 or 3 years of doing that and saying that and rubbing my hands together, Spirit spoke loud and clear and says, listen, you've got a job you love. It's great income. You got great benefits. Don't pass this aspect of it up, but more importantly, every day you walk in, your energy is affecting the energy of everybody around you, and your energy, and not only the energy of it, but when I sit down with my boss who's having a bad day, I literally, in my head, I'm looking at him going, I know who you are. I know what you are. I know how you serve. And I can almost see his energy shift. He's a great guy. We have a good relationship, but he's always, he jumps quick. He ignites quick to what the problem is. And I know that words I've spoken, I know that the energy I've brought has changed the environment that I've been in. So, what is it? Grow where you're planted, is one of those statements you hear a lot of time, and also, somebody from my hometown, I went back into my hometown when my partner went over there to sell some pottery, and I'm looking at this woman who was a psychotherapist or psychologist, and she had a room where they were teaching Reiki and yoga, and I looked at her and I said, wow, this is back in hometown Winter Haven? She goes, yeah. She goes, you know something? I thought to myself, I could pack up and go to Sedona, Arizona, but how much change can I do and affect there versus right here in this small town where nobody's doing it? And I went, oh man, that is amazing.
Yeah,
so me still being in the corporate world, I just went, wow, think of the change that I am initiating, and the changes that are being affected just by my energy walking through that building. And it's not because of me, as you well know. I'm allowing the energy to work through me. I'm trying to keep my vessel clean. I'm trying to listen and show up for what needs to be done from higher self, from source, from the angels, from all of our guidance, as you well know.
Yes, absolutely. And I actually struggle with similar situation. I work. I'm a superintendent of properties for. It's not a corporation. It's a privately owned apartment complex. They have 2 complexes. And I oversee the maintenance staff on both complexes, although I normally work from the one. And I had a few health things recently and this and that. I've been there 20 years in April. It'll be 20 years I've been there. And I thought to myself, as we move forward with this, I have to find a way to let that go because it's a security thing. That's my full-time job. That's my benefits. That's all that. And to break away from that is a little daunting. But I thought inevitably I'm going to have to. And then the truth came to me, as I say, manifested in my reality, that me being there it's not about doing the job they have me there for, but I have a staff of maintenance men that look to me for not only as guidance and leadership, but they're my friends, and there's a few of them there that they come to me, whether it be for Christian ministering or enlightenment. And there's one particular guy there who, it's like every day me and him will have a 20-minute conversation about the dream he had the night before. And it's like I am in service to these people. When something happens, the same thing as you said, I can go there and something that I've been inspired to say or a message that I've been given to relay can totally change their day and uplift them from a typically mundane job that maybe they're not happy doing. Yeah. And I accepted that challenge to be there and do this. Now, for me, it's difficult. At the end of the day, when I punch out and I come home, I just want to be done. I don't want to have to go out to a 2-hour workshop or a 3-hour group reading or something. I do it. I'm glad to do it. It's just getting me back up off the couch and out the door. That's been challenging for me, and that's where I struggle with. At what point do I make that break? And that's when I believe they gave me that information that I'm needed there as well right now.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing that you actually you understand that. So
yeah, very much so.
So we're going to jump ahead here. You mentioned your radio show. I would like to talk to you a little bit about your radio show, and if that's something that you're going to continue with, and then I want to get right into your YouTube readings.
Cool. Yeah, so probably it's been almost like 2 years. Jamie the Psychic, she is in Orlando. She's been on one of our radio stations, and also The Buzz, which is a television show that she's been on over several years, as kind of a regular. They bring her on every couple of months or so. But she started her radio show, and it's funny because I Facebook stalked her for a year because I'm like, oh, there's a professional in town, and I would just follow her on Facebook, and then one day I commented on something, and she commented back, and you know how you instantly have that Facebook love relationship where it lasts for like 48 hours where you're just back and forth.
Yeah.
Well, we did that, and finally I said, we have to meet. So we did. It was a wonderful connection. She started her radio show on Blog Talk about 2 years ago. I was the second show she did. I was her guest host. She just had a guest host. And either that night or the next morning, she literally said, you need to be my co-host from here on out. So she didn't even have one show without me. I jumped in as her co-host. It's been an amazing ride. We have a call screener, Sandy Tedesco, who's working on Stones and Gems now. Daniel Hill, he's in our chat room. He does chat room readings. We had Brenna, she's out in California now, but we had all these people that were supporting us behind the scenes. Jamie and I did our thing, and then she started dating a guy, Evan, and they were best friends. They dated, then they were best friends, and then they dated again, and then this past past March, he's younger than me. I'm 48, so he was, I believe, 44, 45. What was that noise?
That was one of the big construction trucks going by, hauling stone down the street.
No. You know what it was? And anybody who knows Evan knows that energy and that noise was brought on by him because we're talking about him. He passed away in March this past year, and it was a huge hit for Jamie because it was her best friend. And the funny thing is he passed away in the hospital that I work in, and I ended up going there, seeing him on the table. He was gone. I took her home. He has shown up, and if anybody listening to this hasn't ever heard the story, you can go to YouTube, Blog Talk Radio and look up Cosmic Caffeine and just find the episode on the beautiful life of Evan Moore. And Jamie talks that the Sunday after he passed away, we had a special show, and she really, really just talked everything about it. But he's on the other side working for us, for her. I believe the TV shows that we're both working on kind of separately now were brought on by his work. But so we've been going on now for almost 2 years, and we talk a lot. We call ourselves the Howard Sterns of psychic radio because there's really no holds barred. Is that how you say it? We talk about anything. We'll tell someone, you know what, you just need to go out and have sex. You just need to get laid. I mean, you just need to free things up. And not just for gratuitousness, but we're, the guides that we channel, sometimes they're telling it like it is. I'm sure you speak the language of the people that sit in front of you. You mentioned Christian counseling. If a Christian sits down in front of me, the language that comes out is very biblical based and Christian based. Right. If I'm talking to the Wiccan or the pagan or the atheist, it's their language, and it's because I'm matching their energy, and of course, spirits speaking the best language that they speak, which I think is the most appropriate, because then they're going to understand the message.
Right. Absolutely. Now, was Evan? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Was Evan a motorcycle guy?
He was, absolutely.
Well, when that truck went by, I knew it was a truck because I saw the orange lights. But in my mind, they were showing me a picture of a man on a motorcycle. And absolutely. So when you brought up about Evan, I'm thinking, I better bring that up because I see him on a motorcycle. So, okay, thank you.
and for us, he shows himself in the number 333 because he left his body at 3:33 p.m. So that was interesting. So a lot of people see that number all the time now. But we'll be, like, on one of my YouTube videos, this may be a good segue, but I'll go ahead and say this in case it is a segue. Sunday nights at 7 p.m., we do the show it's 2 hours. We typically get through, several callers. But we do a lot of talking just about what's going on, stuff of the world, and things like that. Where was I going? Oh, the YouTube reading. Probably...
Well, wait, just to go back real quick. So that was... Cosmic Caffeine on Blog Talk Radio, right?
Yep. If you search Blog Talk Radio, Cosmic Caffeine, you'll find it.
Yeah. I'll be putting all that in the show notes in the description for this video once it gets over to YouTube anyway, but just so it's been said. So yes, on to the YouTube videos. Now, I'll backtrack a little bit. How you came into my reality is on Advanced Angel Cards, where I do my readings on YouTube and the website. I do work with my wife in person. We have angel parties and stuff, and they call us the Divine Duo, which is some marketing name that was given to us. It's funny, but I get weird about it, and then our good friend Mandy DiPietro, DiPietro, depending on your dialect, she has come on, and her and Eileen do weekly pendulum readings on the YouTube channel of Advanced Angel Cards, and they're the Pendulum Girls. Well, Mandy, years ago when I was teaching, can't say years ago, a while back when I was teaching her Reiki 1, I was giving her a Reiki 1 class here in this very studio, she had brought up, she goes, have you ever seen IntuitiveMitchell? I was like, I'll have to check them out. So I started watching some of your YouTube videos. And one thing that I liked and admired right off the bat is your dedication in the fact that you are a relatively busy person. You do work a full-time job. You are doing this and you are doing that, and you are living the dream that anybody who is doing this type of work wants to do, and yet you still take the time every day, or sometimes it's not every day, but you'll do a 2-day reading, to get on here and do those readings daily, from what I have seen without fail. And I think that's extraordinarily impressive and says a lot about your character. One of the other things I noticed is, like you were just saying about the radio show, you are not afraid to tell somebody, look, this is going to be a challenging week. There are going to be some issues coming up today or tomorrow. And that's something in my training, as I work with Doreen and Riley Valentine with the angel cards, and then even after that, I was always told, the angels are here for the positive. So if you see a lot of challenges, explain to them that it may be challenging, but they want you to know this is the good that's going to come out of it, or this is where you're going to end up. So just keep that in mind. Where you have kind of re-inspired me to be a little more blunt about, look, there's going to be some challenges, and here's what you're going to have to do to get through them. But understand it's going to be a bumpy road this week. Yeah. And I've been led away from doing that, simply because we must focus on the positive. But at the same time, watching many of your readings and seeing how you do it with love and with a high vibration kind of moves me to get back into doing that. And in fact, we had a very challenging week in my reading the week after Halloween, just last week, I guess it was. Yeah. It was, according to the cards, was going to be a very challenging week for some, coming off of that high energy, and things were going on. And I just asked that they gave me the messages that were of the highest truth but with the highest love. So they still seem to be gentle, because that's the thing with the angel cards, is that they're very gentle. It takes the fear out of that stigma of the tarot. So that's what I've always kind of been told to do. But let's talk about your YouTube channel and the stuff that you do there.
Yeah, so it was August, like 2nd, 2 years ago. Thank you, Sheldon. He's coming back. So it was August 2nd, 2 years ago, and I did a video every single day for 1 year. And in that, actually a little over a year, and in that time period, I was even going to Italy for a vacation for 11 days. Well, I pre-did every day, and while I was over there, I would wake up and I would find Wi-Fi by sitting on the toilet, because that's where the best Wi-Fi in the hotel was, and I would hit send and I would post on the pages that I was supposed to post. And so after a full year of not missing a single day, Spirit literally said, okay, you've done it, you proved it to yourself, now when you go on vacation, you're not going to do it. So I have gone well over 2 years now, but I went on a cruise. Actually, I went on 2 cruises that I did not in May, and then actually in March for my birthday, and in September I was in where was I? Spain. So I have finally given myself that break when I go on vacation not to do it.
And that's okay. You're allowed.
Because it's funny, because I thought to myself, this is what I would tell a client. This is what I would tell a client. And so I, but then I Instagram and I tweet and I post as much as I can. The cruise is hard because there's just no Wi-Fi, and it's good because the other thing I don't do, and this is the parallel Spirit showed me. When I go on vacation, I don't exercise because I do it for a living. I take a break from that when I go on my vacation. But yeah, so every day I do that, and I appreciate what you said, and that is confirmation that what I'm allowing Spirit to do through me is working. How it has inspired or changed you. And one of the best ways I can describe when I talk to people about a challenging week or energy is the wave. And you probably heard me say before, this is a giant wave, and you really have kind of 2 choices. You can surf it all the way in and look like a rock star, and it's going to take a little time to get up and master it. Or you can stand there going, what the? And it just pummels you to the ground.
Right.
So that's what I think, because I don't believe in right or wrong. I don't believe in good or bad. I believe in high vibration or dense, heavy vibration. So making those choices. And the thing is, and I say I don't believe, I think it's just semantics, what it actually is. So I understand that if someone says negative, for me that just means, okay, it's a dense choice, it's a heavy choice, it's maybe a choice that's going to be, more challenging for them to pull it back to the higher level. But I also know that in a year from now, what I believe may shift and change as we grow and evolve, because what I believed a year ago is not the same what I believe today. So I don't limit myself and hold firm to a belief system, because I think that's why so many churches get such a bad rap, is because there's some of them that are just, no, we're not going to change out of this box. This is how it has been for 20,000 years, so don't change. And I think if there's more allowance to change, then there would be the struggle for so many people. So I hope that makes sense how I said it.
No, absolutely, and I agree. I mean, I know it's weird, my beliefs, as well as many people I know in this field, certainly evolve and change all the time, but at the same time, it also helps strengthen other beliefs, religion being one of them for me. I have said since I was young that it's all one God, that are not tethered. The divine creatures aren't tethered by the labels that we put on them, what we wrote down in books 1,000 years ago. That's irrelevant to them. That's our own little creations, the pigeonhole and separation of boxes that we create in these different religions and all. And I think Kevin Smith wrote it most brilliant in his movie Dogma. It doesn't matter what you believe, just believe in something. And they will evolve, and it will grow, and it'll expand, and sometimes what doesn't serve you will move along. My wife and her sister got into a little bit of star seeds and all that stuff, and for a while that's where they were, and now they've moved, kind of recentered that belief, and it's just an ongoing thing. I went out on a pretty, I wouldn't say a far limb, but I went out a little bit away from basic Christianity to an all-encompassing, omnipresent being known as God. Higher truth of God is what I refer to it. But I'll always be a Christian because that's just what I choose to be. but I'm a Christian spiritualist, and I understand that the politics of religion, when church became an organization and the spirituality was ripped from religion for control by fear, and I try not to get too political with those types of things, but that's where I am with that, but it'll change. A week from now, I may be going back to Catholic Mass. You never know where God's going to lead you. So in your YouTube readings, you do a few different things. I know you throw up some numerology, you do traditional tarot, and tell us about the other tool you use, because I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't real familiar with it. I've heard of them, I've never used them, and I really don't know a lot about them, but that was one of the things that also intrigued me about your reading. So tell us more about the is it Lenormand? No, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce it right.
And there's different pronunciations, just like
Lenormand?
Either Lenormand or Lenormand. It's definitely I believe it's French. Mademoiselle Lenormand, and it's basically Le Normand. She's from Normand. Yeah. That's where she's from Lenormand. So the and I actually have one of my decks right here from Ciro Marchetti. But the Lenormand deck is basically a traditional fortune-telling system, and they can absolutely be used as just oracle cards. But when I picked them up, because it was a year ago that I went to the Tarasivi conference, TerraCon in Dallas, and I met Rana George, who is Lebanese, and she's been reading them like all of her life. But I remember sitting there, and my mouth was probably hanging open, and she's talking about him a year ago, and I said, "Excuse me, are you telling me this is a fortune-telling deck?" And she goes, "Well, yes, it does." I said, "Well, thank you, because I'm fascinated, because I believe in free will. I believe in creating your life and your existence. But I remember being very specifically guided by Spirit to connect with these cards and hold the traditional, the traditional value, how they were designed, to learn that, to understand that, because there are negative cards, there are positive cards, and then there are neutral cards, and you put them together like a sentence. Like the key would mean anything that kind of unlocks or opens, or it's the key. And then if I pulled the man card, that would be significator of you. And then if the woman card came up, that would be your wife. And if in the middle of it was the heart card, that would show me the key between the two of you is your love. Now, if the book came up between you, the key might mean that there are some things hidden, or still some things yet to be learned between the two of you. They're very specific. This is how it's designed. And so when I use them in my daily reading, I have pretty much said to Spirit, okay, I'm using this traditionally, so speak to me with these cards in the language that they're designed for. And, if I do a reading with the cards, because it's one of those things where I vacillate. Vacillate just back and forth a little bit, because you and I both know people come to you going, I need to know what's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, they want us to predict something for them, and I will say, boom, 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 boom. Here is what I see as the most likely outcome. But you need to realize the moment you walk away from me, you're creating every step of the way. If you like what you see, what you hear, hold that as your intention, hold that as your creation, and let's co-create it together right now, that this is what's going to happen. If you don't like what you see, we can change that. Let's pull some more cards and see how we can change it. What's the best way to change it? What can we do to bring it to the highest vibration? I don't know if your wife has used a pendulum ever, in the sense of changing the energy of the day, because when I use pendulum, I would say, what does my day look like on a scale of 1 to 10? It would show me a 5, and I'd be like, ooh, can I bring that up any higher? Let me bring it to the highest vibration I can. And it'll start swinging, and it would move up to a 7. I was like, is that all I can get? And the energy would be like, that's all you can get today. I'm like, okay, I brought it up as high as I can. So it is a very interesting deck, and it's gaining quick, speedy, fast popularity right now, because the big wigs, Carrie Paris, Rachel Pollack, Mary Kay Greer, the goddesses of tarot in the U.S. have gotten onto the ball, and they're writing their own books, and they're talking about it, and they're studying it. So it's gaining some pretty good momentum in the United States right now. I mean, creators who've never created a deck are saying, let's create a Lenormand deck, because everybody's buying them.
Before you know it, you'll see a vampire one, a steampunk one, a witch's brew. It'll be like the tarot cards. But I just found them interesting because you have the little regular playing card on there, and then you have your symbolic, the key, the house or home, and then there is I guess the card number, a different number on that card. Yep. And you've used them actually in your readings to come across with numerology stuff as well, right?
Yes, yes. I love numbers. I mean, again, this was something as a child I would lay in bed and look at the clock, and I would add the numbers up and divide them by 2s and 3s and 5s, and just I still do that. So numbers have always been, I was so good in math. I was so logical, so left brain, because numbers equate like stability and structure for me, and I love that because I feel like I'm all over the place sometimes with the other side of my brain. But I'll never forget one of my teachers. She would end almost every class, and almost every single math teacher was a woman. That was another weird thing in my life. But I remember she said, and remember, life is not a whole number. And I remember walking out of class every day going, what is she talking about? And like one day it finally clicked on me. Oh, it means that it's not what you think it is. It's not what it appears to be. And when I was finally introduced to, we work on a base 10 system, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Once you hit 10, you go back to the next set of numbers. You bring up the 1, 20. You bring up the 2. So it's a base 10. And I remember her going, we're going to talk about different bases. And I remember going, what are you talking about? Because then she started talking about base 3, base 6. You can have any base number, any system, and it blew my mind from a numerology standpoint. But for me, I love to bring numerology back to the tarot, especially the major arcana. And then just knowing, 1 is like that spark of idea. And then 2 is, which way do I want to go? And 3 is kind of starting to gain that momentum. 3 is a triangle, that unity, the Trinity, the mind, body, the soul. 4 is where you've got your stride. And I'm sure if you don't, the odd numbers 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 are dynamic, fast, moving. 2, 4, 6, 8, 0 are feminine, peaceful, passive numbers. And you can see that through the tarot. You can see that through the numbers. Unbeknownst to me, I've always set my alarm clock for an odd number. If I needed to wake up at 6 o'clock, I would always set it at 6:01. And I remember thinking, why do I do that? I don't want to set it for 6 o'clock. And I always thought it was because I didn't want to be boring like everybody else. But now I finally realized, why would I set it to an even, passive, feminine number to wake me up?
To get up and get moving, right?
Right, because that's a calm number, that's a passive, that's a quiet number. And it hit me like a ton of bricks one day. That's why, 6:15 is a great time to wake up. But 6:17 for me is even better. I don't know why, because it's just not the norm. But so the numbers, work into my day and just everywhere I go. Sometimes it's just like I'll look at a license plate and I'll think, okay, that's a 3. Okay, now's a good time to create, because 3 goes back to the Empress card, which is about birth, starts, beginning, abundance. So I just Spirit speaks through the numbers to me is what it really boils down to.
Excellent, excellent. So I don't want to hold you up any longer than I already have, but I did want to touch. I wanted to get into the Lenormand cards there a little bit. At the beginning of the episode, I said, I am worthy of the one I see before me. And I am a huge Paul Selig fan. I tune into most of his telestreams. Get up to the Meta Center when he was, I don't know if he still works with Alan or not, but when he was first starting at the Meta Center with Alan, we were up there anytime he was there. We tried to get up to Rhinebeck to the Omega Center a couple of times when he was there, just one thing or another couldn't make it. Read all 3 books. Have been keeping up to date with his latest teachings, and they're going to give him 3 more books. But my understanding is you yourself have worked with Paul Selig. Is that correct?
I work would be a strong term. I saw him on Bio TV. I don't know if you've ever seen that episode, but I saw him.
Yeah, on Explained Files, I think it was.
Yes, and I remember just like leaning into the TV going, oh my gosh, this guy is the most real channel I've ever seen. And even how he works, because he whispers and then brings it back out, was very weird and off-putting at first, but it never swayed me from like digging into this. My partner was like, oh my gosh, he's weird. I'm like, just shut up and listen. But it was amazing how he channeled. And so that was probably 3 years there, because the last 2 years he went to what's called Through the Veil, which is in Atlanta. And Through the Veil is a paranormal and metaphysical spiritual conference. And 3 years ago, it was much more paranormal. And then the last 2 years, it was much more spiritual and metaphysical. My good friend Shelley Wilson goes there. I finally got to meet her in person 2 years ago, and Paul was there, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to go. I knew Shelley would be there, but then when I saw Paul was, I'm like, I got to go meet this guy. Well, he's the nicest man in the world. We got to have, coffee, and we had lunch together several times. And then this last year, we sat through pretty much every workshop together when he wasn't teaching. So I was this coming year. I've signed the contract to be one of the presenters there this coming year, and my workshop is going to be on animal communication. So I don't know if Paul's going to be there or not this coming year, but so we did kind of work together. I mean, I was there more as a student and hanging out with him, but he is just a wonderful guy, and the guides, the work that they do through him has probably been. I started years ago with the Conversations with God books, and they blew my mind. But the thing about Paul's work is it's vibrational, and that is the thing that I probably have taken the most with me. Before I turn on any video, before I do any, interview, before I do anything, I set the intention to be in the highest vibration I can. I go through my whole litany of, let everybody who comes in contact with me receive healing, guidance, confirmation, grounding, balance, peace, harmony, alignment, abundance, joy. All those things are the intentions. And then to resonate, operate, and vibrate in that highest frequency of love that they can and that I can, because I'm always including myself to keep myself in high vibration. So, I'm right in the middle of the third book right now, and I'm sure, like, if you're not like me, I'll read like 10 pages and then I'll have to go, whew, okay, I got to put that down for just a moment. It's like a steak dinner. You got to digest it.
Yeah, now see, my wife's a power reader. She would read straight through until she couldn't read anymore. Now I'm very A-type, I guess, and I like to follow. I like order, so I would try to read a whole chapter, and then when it said, now stop now and set this intention, do whatever, and we'll pick it up again, I would always stop. I'd follow the directions, I'd stop. My wife power read through it. But I agree to vibrational. It's like the books themselves were vibrational attunements.
Yes.
The sensations I got from reading those books were very similar to what I got when I was being attuned through the Reikis all the way up to Master. I definitely feel that those books are an attunement. And it's awesome that you got to spend that time with him outside of the lectures, actually, like personal time.
Yeah.
My experiences with him have been pretty much workshops, short of a few interludes outside of that at the Namaste bookstore and before and after the workshops. In fact, I do some woodworking with rare, exotic, and sacred wood, and I made him a rollerball pen to sign his autographs with and all. And so every time, if I see a picture of him somewhere at like a book signing, I say, oh, there's my pen. I see my pen.
Nice.
And of course, Darla, which was a loss for him. She was at every reading, with a little curtain ears. I saw the picture that you had posted, and I said, "Oh my God, is that Darla?" Or actually, it wasn't a post. It was one of your readings. You were holding her, I believe. And I was like, "Oh, is that Did you have your own little version of Darla?"
She was a client of my partner that she needed to stay with us for the weekend. Her name was Coco. So.
Yeah. Yeah, but good stuff there. I only brought it up because that's what through some stuff that I had heard from Mandy and Pope, actually my wife too. So he's done work with Paul. I wanted to bring that up because I find that very impactful and relevant to me. And again, it's one of those things as you start to find commonality with people, it resonates with me very much.
And above all, I mean, my goodness, the books, the work in that book, the changes those books are making, as well as I do, is amazing.
Absolutely.
And and I love the fact that you're seeing more and more of these channeled works around the world starting to say a lot of the same things where they haven't read each other's work, but they're all aligning up, so it's really neat how it's all doing that.
All right, and that's one of the things that another belief I hold solid. That is just strengthened in time is the commonalities. I tell people who have come to me in the past and have had, I'm struggling with my religion or this and that. I tell them, look, get like a Cliff Note version of the say 7 or 8 major religions of the world. Look through them, and you're going to find a commonality. And that commonality is the truth, and the rest is just fluff. And that's it seems a weird thing to say about religion, but the bottom line is they are books, and it's the commonality that's where the truth lies. And when you're getting a channel text from Paul Selig, and then something that was channeled back in the 30s, and then something that was channeled by somebody in Germany in the 70s, and a lot of the channel work's even coming out now in modern times, and when they're all kind of have that commonality about rediscovering that you are a divine being, Panache Desai, one of his great sayings is, lifetimes ago you asked me to remind you today that you are a divine being, and that's why I'm here. And that's another great one, I thought. So I just wanted to get that in there and touch base on that, because I'm a little fanboy of Paul. We've already touched on your future plans with the show, and lots of luck with that. I'd be interested to see where that went. I'd certainly be interested in watching it. So if you could give us a brief rundown. Oh, actually, before we do go, you brought it up. I forgot to touch base on it. Your animal communication. You want to briefly tell us about that before we leave?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because with animals, they are such teachers, healers. They're mirrors for us more than anything, and they're here to help us learn our lessons. I believe they already know how to live in the moment. They live in the present so easily, and I think they have that true beautiful love, that God source love, and it's like I've been talking about the movie Lucy. If you haven't seen it, it's a neat movie that encompasses a great concept about like opening up our mind to all that is, to becoming like back to that one source. And I think that's where the animals kind of have it, because it's like, if they need to go to the bathroom, they go to the bathroom. If they're hungry, they ask, where's my food? They don't think about it. If they lose a fellow pet, they aren't sitting there sobbing and crying over it, emotion like we do. When we brought home one of our loved ones after she passed, we put the box down, the other ones came up and looked at it, and then they just walked away. And it was like they got it. They understood her time is done. Her body is gone. Her soul's onward. But I work with them, and it's funny because I always tell people, I said, now you may think your animals, your dog or your cat's the one with the problem, but I'll tell you, they're probably just reflecting some of the energy that's going on in the house. So it's probably the humans. And usually about 90% of the time it's the humans, because we kind of mess them up. But they're perfect example. Last week a woman came to me. She said, there's this dog. And we probably talked 5 minutes about the dog, 15 minutes about her, and 15 minutes about the actual owner of the dog, because that would stay with them. And I said, look what this little creature has done. It has brought you to me to talk about this thing that you need to learn and grow and work on, and then how you can assist your friend to learn and to grow. So this little animal was a vehicle to bring you here because you were feeling something was wrong with them. So they are truly, truly just amazing to connect with. And it's funny because I'm being shown a title from Neil Donald Walsh's new book. It's like, hey, it's me, God, you got me all wrong. And I'm thinking, we've got our animals all wrong. It's like we've got it all wrong. What's going on with them? They're rock stars. They are warriors. They come in, to help, and they'll play to the death. They're like children. Because, a child, if they want something, they'll play to the end. They'll hold their breath till they pass out. Where the animals are the same way. And the one thing that I will say to anybody who has an animal, always continue to keep them in a high vibrational place. If you see a dog on the side of the road and you're not one that can stop and pick it up, don't think, oh, that poor baby, it's going to get hit. Think that rock star, he's teaching someone a lesson, he's mirroring, he's showing something. They are warriors out there. So when you continue to keep them in a place of high vibration, then they're going to be able to serve their purpose much better.
Absolutely wonderful. That's a good way to look at it. We are animal owners. We have a little ragdoll cat. Well, little, he's huge, but we have a ragdoll cat, and we have my big guy, 140-some pound golden retriever, who's, I think, beginning his transition. He's having some issues now, and it's sad, but it's something where every day I come home and it's, hey, Georgie, you know, and I make sure I get him up and get him moving
Yep.
because his legs are starting to give him problems, and give him lots of love and scratch his back until he gets the chills and his tail goes, you know, and
Yep.
you know, it's that vibration is so important, and even in our own lives, it's just we can sulk and be in sadness and live in that lower vibration energy that's just going to manifest more lower vibration energy, or we can
Yeah.
not fall victim and take our power and stand in that high vibration. And I think it's critical for us to do all that. So, well, Mitchell, thank you so much for being here with me today. It was amazing getting to know a little more about you. And I'll continue, obviously, to watch your readings and keep up on you and see what the future brings for you. And if you would quickly give us a rundown of any of your contact information, websites, any way people can get in touch with you, and I'll also include them in the show notes under the description for this video.
Perfect. Yeah, you can find me on my website, IntuitiveMessenger.org. On Facebook, if you do Intuitive Mitchell or Intuitive Messenger, you'll come up with either the personal or fan page. And then my YouTube channel is Intuitive Mitchell. And if you find that you are loving the channel and you want to support me on a monthly basis financially from $1 up, you can go to patreon.com/Intuitive Mitchell. And Patreon is spelled Patreon. It's a cool site where they allow creators of content to put their stuff out, and people who want to support them, it's just an easy way to do that. So those are all the places you can get a hold of me. And Twitter, Instagram, you can find all those on the website, IntuitiveMessenger.org.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, all that information will be in the show notes under the description once this is posted onto the YouTube page, which is probably where you're watching it now. So thank you again, Mitchell, and thank you all for watching. We'll join us next time, where our guest should be Colleen St. Michaels of Angel Wisdom in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And we will see you then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.